Coming live from the Tivoli Met Radio studio here on Auraria campus, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for listening to All Sports through Met Radio on mymetmedia.com, live every Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, and NHL hockey. So before I start the show, I hope y'all had a great week. To start off with some Major League Baseball, the Rockies called up their number one prospect, Brandon Rogers, and he's going to join the Rockies this weekend in Philadelphia when they go against the Phillies. So I would expect the Rockies to insert Brandon Rogers into their starting lineup one of those games. A lot of people are definitely looking forward to Brandon Rogers. He's their top prospect, and he's supposed to be a great player. And now that he's getting called up to the big leagues, and he's going to make his Major League debut this weekend, he should definitely have a great career in Major League Baseball for the Rockies. Down in the minor league system, he was definitely a great player, so a lot of people are definitely looking forward to Brandon Rogers coming up to the major leagues. Right now I'm going to update you with the current Rockies schedule and tell you every final score from each game this past week and what teams they go up against this weekend and going into next week. So last week in the Giants series, in the first game, the Rockies lost the game 14-4. The second game was postponed due to rain, and it will be made up on July 15. The next time the Giants return back to Coors Field, it will be a doubleheader that first day. In the last game, the Rockies were able to win a close game, 12-11. Last weekend, the Rockies went against the Padres. In the first game, they won the game 12-2. They lost the second game 4-3. And in the third game, the Rockies were able to win 10-7. In the last few days, the Rockies went up to Boston to go against the Red Sox in an interleague matchup up at Fenway Park. In the first game, the Rockies were able to win a close game 5-4. And in the second game, the Rockies lost the game 6-5. They landed up splitting up the series. And in August, the Red Sox will come here to Coors Field, and they'll play another 2-game series against the Red Sox. So overall, in this past week, the Rockies did not play some bad baseball. The games they lost, they were close games, especially the one against the Red Sox in extra innings, and the game against the Padres last weekend. So this weekend, the Rockies go against the Phillies in Philadelphia, and next week they go against the Pirates up in Pittsburgh. In the Major League Baseball power rankings, the current top 10 Major League Baseball teams are the Dodgers, Astros, Rays, Yankees, Cubs, Twins, Cardinals, Brewers, Red Sox, and Diamondbacks. There's definitely a few teams you need to watch out for. The Dodgers, the Astros, and the Rays especially. And we got a few new teams in the top 10 this week, so you definitely want to keep an eye out on those teams going into next week. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NFL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NFL football. Cornerback Xavier Howard and the Dolphins have agreed to a 5-year contract extension, which will make him the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. Bills quarterback Derek Anderson is retiring after a 14-year career in the NFL. 2013 first-round quarterback E.J. Manuel is retiring from the NFL. The Jets fired general manager Mike Mucatine, Jets head coach Adam Gase will be the interim general manager. The Jets traded linebacker Darren Lee to the Chiefs for a 2020 sixth-round pick. The Cardinals' 8-time Pro Bowl cornerback Patrick Peterson is being suspended the first 6 games of the 2019 season for violating the NFL's performance-enhancing drug policy. Rookie minicamp was last weekend for the Broncos, and the first week of OTAs began this week. So for every team in the NFL, most of them had rookie camp last weekend, and the first week of OTAs began this week. There's definitely a lot you want to keep an eye out for going into next week's OTAs. There's a lot of different competitions, quarterback-wise and in other positions, on almost every roster in the NFL. And with OTAs now starting, minicamp is just around the corner after OTAs end. And then just in a few weeks, training camp will begin. So it may be May right now, but this summer might go by fast, and before you know it, it's going to be August, and it's going to be time for the NFL Hall of Fame game, the NFL Hall of Fame inductee ceremony, training camp, the preseason, and then the regular season is going to be here. So it might be the off season right now, but football is just around the corner, and it's going to come fast. Right now, I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the NBA and NHL. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to NBA basketball, James Harden moved into 11 in all-time three-pointers made in the playoffs. Frank Vogel has agreed to a 3-year contract to become the head coach of the Lakers. Jason Kidd is being hired as an assistant for the Lakers. University of Michigan head coach John Brennan has agreed to a 5-year contract to become the next head coach of the Cavaliers. In the 2019 NBA Draft Lottery, these are the picks each team received. Pelicans first pick, Grizzlies second pick, Knicks third pick, Lakers fourth pick, Cavaliers fifth pick, Suns sixth pick, Bulls seventh pick, Hawks eighth pick, Wizards 9th pick, Hawks 10th pick, Timberwolves 11th pick, Hornets 12th pick, Heat 13th pick, and Celtics 14th pick. The Hawks do have 2 picks in the top 10 of the first round of this year's NBA draft. It's the 8th pick and the 10th pick. In the NBA lottery, the Knicks received the first pick in this year's NBA draft, but they traded the first pick to the Pelicans. The Knicks received the 3rd pick, and they're hoping they can improve their team this offseason by acquiring players in free agency and by trading for Anthony Davis. It's very likely Zion Williamson will be the first pick in this year's NBA draft, so if the Pelicans do draft him, it's not a guarantee Anthony Davis wants to remain on the Pelicans roster next season. Anthony Davis still wants to be traded, and the teams that would likely trade for him is the Celtics, Lakers, Knicks, and Raptors. So we're going to have to wait and see. They're expecting Zion Williamson to be the first pick in the NBA draft this year. If he's not the first pick, he's definitely going to be the 2nd or 3rd pick. But Zion Williamson is definitely going to be a top 5 pick in the first round of this year's NBA draft. And even if the Pelicans do draft Zion Williamson, there's no guarantee Anthony Davis is going to stay with the Pelicans. The Knicks are hoping since they traded the first pick to the Pelicans, that they're one of the front runners to trade for Anthony Davis. We're going to have to wait and see. Free agency does not begin until this July, after the end of the NBA season. And there's definitely going to be a lot of big names that have the potential to opt in or opt out of their contract or to become free agents. There will definitely be a lot of big names, and we're going to have to wait and see who those players are. But the Knicks definitely want to improve their team. The Knicks are hoping that the Pelicans will accept one of their trade offers so they can acquire Anthony Davis, and they also want to acquire other big names if they happen to become free agents. So we're going to have to wait and see what the Knicks do this offseason. Right now I'm going to give you a recap of the 2018-2019 season for the Nuggets. So unfortunately, the Nuggets season came to an end in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs against the Trailblazers. The Nuggets-Trailblazers series landed up going all the way to Game 7, just like the Nuggets-Spurs series in the first round of the playoffs. But unfortunately this time, the Nuggets were on the other side. After winning Game 7 against the Spurs, 196, in Game 7 against the Trailblazers, they landed up losing a close game, 100-96 against the Trailblazers. And the Trailblazers are moving on to the Western Conference Finals, and they're going against the Warriors. So the Nuggets had a few chances in closing out this series and winning this series. And being a Nuggets fan, you would have expected the Nuggets to win this series. It was definitely a great series. Most of these games were close games. But unfortunately, the Trailblazers just happened to play a little bit better than the Nuggets in some of these games, and they landed up winning Game 7 here at the Pepsi Center in Denver. Game 6 was up in Portland, and the Nuggets had an opportunity of closing out the series up in Portland, but unfortunately, the Nuggets lost to the Trailblazers 119-108. So the series landed up being tied at 3. Game 7 was here in Denver. Since the Nuggets were here at the Pepsi Center and they had the home crowd behind them, they were hoping that they were able to win this game on their home court. For part of the game, the Nuggets had a lead. And it wasn't a big lead, but they were playing some decent basketball. But when they got to the fourth quarter, the Trailblazers were catching up, and the Trailblazers started getting the lead towards the end of the game, and it was only by a few points. And just like most of the other games in this series, this game was going back and forth, and whatever team was winning didn't have a big lead. But unfortunately, the Nuggets couldn't catch up to the Trailblazers. CJ McCollum was definitely the player to watch out for in Game 7. And he was definitely the star of the game. He was definitely hard to stop, and he was scoring a lot of points, and the Nuggets couldn't stop CJ McCollum from scoring. Even though this game was going back and forth, Game 7 was definitely still a great game. It's just the Nuggets couldn't gain a lead over the Trailblazers towards the end of the game. And every time the Nuggets scored, the Trailblazers went down the court, and they scored again, and then the Nuggets would score, and then the Trailblazers would score, so it just kept going back and forth. But even though the Nuggets season ended in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs against the Trailblazers, this was definitely a great season for the Nuggets. So congrats to the Nuggets on having a great season this year. They were definitely a surprise to the Western Conference and to the whole NBA, especially if you were a Nuggets fan. The Nuggets had high expectations coming into this season. After missing the playoffs by one game the previous season, the Nuggets definitely wanted to make it into the playoffs this season. And if you would have gave early season predictions for the Nuggets, we would have expected them to make it into the playoffs, but as a lower seed. We would have expected the Nuggets to be a 5th, a 6th, a 7th, or an 8th seed, one of those seeds. But the Nuggets definitely surprised the Nuggets fans and the rest of the NBA. They were one of the best teams in the Western Conference for the whole season, and they were even one of the best teams in the NBA. The Nuggets were able to hold on to the first seed in the Western Conference for part of the season. For most of the season, the Nuggets were one of the top teams in the Western Conference. They were holding on to the first seed, the second seed, the third seed. After the Warriors battled against the Nuggets and they jumped up to the first seed and they ended up holding on to the first seed after the All-Star break for the rest of the season, the Nuggets were able to hold on to the second seed. And there was definitely a lot that the Nuggets were able to accomplish this season. Their starting rotation was great. Nikola Jokic was a great player this year. He definitely improved from last year. Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Paul Millsap, they were all great players. The Nuggets had a great bench. The players that were definitely surprising coming off the bench for the Nuggets was Monte Morris and Malik Beasley. So the Nuggets didn't have to rely on their starting rotation all the time. Their players that were coming off the bench were also playing great basketball. Isaiah Thomas was on the team. He also played great, even though he didn't play for that many games since he sat out for most of the season due to his injury. Even though Michael Porter Jr. didn't play this year, we're definitely looking forward to Michael Porter Jr. next year. And now that the season has ended, he is cleared to play basketball. So we can't wait to see what Michael Porter contributes to the Nuggets next season. He's definitely going to be a great player. So this year, the Nuggets had a great starting rotation, a great bench. They had great players on offense and defense. Nikola Jokic was definitely one of the best players for the Nuggets, and he was definitely one of the best centers in the NBA. And he definitely set a lot of records. Even though the Nuggets season ended in the second round of the playoffs, the Nuggets are definitely looking forward to building off from this season. The Nuggets are definitely looking forward to next season and maybe having the opportunity of making it back into the playoffs and advancing further into the playoffs. As a Nuggets fan, I was expecting the Nuggets to beat the Trailblazers and be playing the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals right now, but the Nuggets still had a great season. So congrats to the Nuggets on having a great season this year, and we're definitely looking forward to the Nuggets next season. So right now I'm going to update you with the current playoff picture in the Eastern and Western Conference. So to start off, in the Eastern Conference, in the second round of the playoffs, the Bucks went against the Celtics. The 76ers went against the Raptors. The Bucks won the series against the Celtics 4-1, and the Raptors won the series against the 76ers 4-3. In the Eastern Conference Finals, the Bucks are going against the Raptors, and right now the Bucks have a 1-0 lead over the Raptors. In the Western Conference, in the second round of the playoffs, the Warriors went against the Rockets, and the Trailblazers went against the Nuggets. The Warriors won the series against the Rockets 4-2, and the Trailblazers won the series against the Nuggets 4-3. In the Western Conference Finals, the Warriors are going against the Trailblazers. And right now, the Warriors have a 1-0 lead over the Trailblazers. So that's the current playoff picture in the NBA. Moving on now to NHL hockey. Right now, I'm going to give you the current playoff picture in the Eastern and Western Conference. To start off in the Eastern Conference, in the second round of the playoffs, Boston won the series 4-2 against Columbus, and Carolina swept the New York Islanders. In the Eastern Conference Finals, Boston is going against Carolina, and right now Boston has a 3-0 lead over Carolina. In the Western Conference, in the second round of the playoffs, St. Louis won the series 4-3 against Dallas, and San Jose won the series against the Avalanche 4-3. In the Western Conference Finals, San Jose is going against St. Louis, and right now St. Louis has a 2-1 lead over San Jose. Right now I'm going to take a commercial break. When I come back, I will talk about the end of the show. Welcome back to All Sports with Gerardo. Moving on now to end the show. What to watch for this week in sports: NBA basketball, NBA playoffs. The Warriors go against the Trailblazers in the NBA Western Conference Finals. The Bucks go against the Raptors in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. NHL hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs. Carolina goes against Boston in the NHL Eastern Conference Finals. San Jose goes against St. Louis in the NHL Western Conference Finals. Major League Baseball, the Rockies. The second week of Broncos OTAs. And the second week of OTAs across the NFL. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, and NHL hockey. I hope you all have a great weekend. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next Thursday from 3:30 to 5 p.m. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports through Met Radio here on mymetmedia.com. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.